The medical bay was a symphony of soft, artificial light and gentler hums. It smelled of clean linens and antiseptic. In the central pod, suspended in a shimmering blue stabilization field, lay the human. His physical wounds, the horrific lattice of plasma burns and fractured bone that had crisscrossed his back, were now smooth, unblemished skin. The Regan tech had done its work with silent efficiency over the past 3 cycles. Yet he remained still, lost in a healing coma. She stood at the observation vane, her 4 slender hands pressed against the cool surface. Her chitin, the color of deep space with subtle violet undertones, seemed to absorb the room's light. Her large obsidian eyes, multifaceted and depthless, reflected the still form of the human. Her thoracic vents, usually emitting a soft, rhythmic sigh, were held in a tight, controlled pattern. The memory played on a loop behind her eyes. The marketplace on Tursus Minor had been chaotic, a confluence of a dozen species. Her hatchling, barely past his first molt, had been clutched to her chest, his tiny limbs waving in curiosity at the riot of colors and sounds. The Gradskrader, a hulking brute of scaled muscle and malicious intent, had not been after her. It had been a simple act of territorial spite, a disruptive blast aimed at a rival's stall. The wide-angle plasma discharge had ignored the presence of a fragile, young life in its path. She had turned, her body too slow, a cry of pure horror lodged in her throat. Then he had moved. The human, a laborer from the nearby docks judging by his worn attire, had been 5 paces away. He did not shout. He did not hesitate. He simply moved with a speed that seemed to defy his solid frame, a blur of faded fabric and determined muscle. He placed himself between the erupting energy and her child. The sound was one she would never forget. Not a scream, but a sharp guttural exhale, swallowed by the crackle of burning atoms meeting flesh. The smell of scorched protein and synth fabric. He had fallen, his body curling instinctively around the hatchling he had not even fully shielded, as if his bulk alone could absorb what remained. His back was a ruin. Her child, sheltered in the cage of the human's arms and torso, had not a single mark. She had screamed then, a high-frequency trill that scattered nearby onlookers. Medical drones had arrived. The human was pried away, his grip on her child strangely tenacious, even in unconsciousness. She had given one command, her voice cutting through the noise with the absolute authority of her lineage. "He comes with us. To my ship, now." Her head of security, a veteran of 100 conflicts, had protested. "My lady, he is a stranger. An unknown. Our medical facilities are for the dynasty." She had looked at him, then at the human on the stretcher, his face pale and clenched in agony, even in oblivion. "He is no stranger. He is under my protection. Indefinitely." That was 3 cycles ago. The human slept. Her hatchling, now vibrant and unscathed, chirped and played in the adjoining nursery, unaware of the cost of his safety. She had not left the medical bay for more than brief moments. She reviewed the sparse data they had gathered on him. John, a common human name. A freelance cargo loader. No permanent affiliations. No significant genetic or cybernetic modifications. Baseline, ordinary. There was nothing ordinary about what he had done. In her culture, protection was calculated. Kin shielded kin. Alliances were made for mutual benefit. To interpose oneself for an alien hatchling, with no possible gain, at near certain cost of one's own life. It was an aberration. A beautiful, terrifying aberration. It represented a debt that could not be quantified, and therefore could never be repaid. The only logical response was to assume permanent responsibility for the asset that incurred it. He woke on the 4th cycle. His eyes, a pale brown she found unsettling in their limited range of expression, opened. They were cloudy with disorientation, then sharpened with a fighter's instinct. He tried to sit up, a hiss escaping his lips as new muscles protested. "Remain still," she said, her voice modulated by the translator to a calm, androgynous tone. She approached the pod, her four-legged gait graceful and silent. "Your biosigns are stable, but your system is still assimilating the regenerated tissue." He blinked at her, at the room, at his own hands. "The kid?" His voice was a rough scrape. "Unharmed. Thriving, thanks to you." A profound relief washed over his face, softening the hard lines of his jaw. He sank back into the support. "Good. That's good. You sustained critical injuries. 73% dermal loss, major skeletal fracturing on your posterior aspect, systemic shock. You have been in a healing coma for 94 standard hours." He absorbed this with a slow nod. "Your doctors?" "Thank you. I am not a doctor," she said, folding her primary hands before her. "I am the child's mother. This is my personal vessel. You are in my care." His eyes widened slightly. "Oh, well, thanks for that, Mom. I guess I should get out of your way." He made to move again. "That is not possible." The statement hung in the air, sterile and absolute. He paused. "I'm sorry?" "The debt incurred is absolute. You have, by your actions, interwoven your existence with that of my lineage. Your physiology is baseline human, vulnerable to a multitude of hazards. Your societal status is unprotected. To release you would be to neglect the obligation your sacrifice created. It would be illogical." John stared at her, a slow frown forming. "It wasn't a sacrifice. It was just the right thing to do. Anyone would have." Statistical analysis of the event suggests a 0.3% likelihood of intervention from a non-affiliated bystander. You are an outlier, John. Outliers require curation. He pushed himself up fully now, ignoring the discomfort. My name is John, and I'm not an outlier to be curated. I'm a guy who saw a kid in trouble. I'm glad he's okay. Now I need to get back to my life. You have no life, she stated, reviewing the data on a wall display. You have temporary housing on Tersus Minor. You have negligible financial assets. You have no genetic progeny, no bonded mates, no clan affiliations. Your existence is transitory and without anchor. Here you will have purpose. You will have security. Anger, hot and human, flushed his skin. You've been digging through my life? Look, lady, I appreciate the patch-up, but you can't just keep me. I'm not a pet. You are a treasure, she corrected, her obsidian eyes locking onto his. A unique and irreplaceable one. You demonstrated a value system that transcends species and incentive. That has immense worth to me. You will be housed, clothed, nurtured. You will want for nothing. I want for my freedom, he said, his voice low. Freedom is a statistical illusion. All beings are constrained by their biology, their society, their circumstances. Your new constraints are simply more comfortable, and your value more recognized. The following cycles settled into a tense rhythm. John was given quarters adjacent to the nursery, lavish by any standard he had known. He had access to vast libraries, human and otherwise. Food was synthesized to his precise nutritional and aesthetic preferences. He was, as promised, wanting for nothing. Except everything that mattered. He tried to reason with her. She listened with polite, unyielding attention, then reiterated her position. The debt was permanent, therefore his status was permanent. He tried anger. She absorbed it without reaction, attributing it to biochemical stress and increasing his recreational simulator time. He tried simply walking to the ship's main hangar. The doors did not open for him. The environmental system gently encouraged him back toward his designated sector with subtle shifts in lighting and airflow. Her hatchling, however, adored him. The young one would skitter into John's quarters, chirping with excitement. John, his heart heavy with a confusing mix of resentment and warmth, could never bring himself to reject the child. He would sit on the floor, letting the hatchling climb over his legs, showing him simple human games like peekaboo. A child's laughter was a sound of pure joy, a stark contrast to the silent, watchful presence of the mother who observed every interaction from the doorway. One day, she entered as John was showing the hatchling how to fold a piece of paper into a clumsy approximation of a bird. He looked up, the frustration simmering in his eyes. "He likes you," she said. "He's a good kid," John replied, his voice flat. "You are good for him. Your influence is stabilizing. Your moral framework, though perplexing, is commendable." John set the paper bird down. "It's not a framework. It's just decency. And decency isn't about owning people. It's about letting them go." She tilted her head, a sign of deep contemplation. "If I let you go, you could be harmed. You could perish in a meaningless dock accident. Your quality of life would decrease by 82%. The potential for you to positively impact another being would plummet. My debt would remain, unresolved, a flaw in the cosmic ledger. And I," she paused, a rare hesitation, "I would experience an unacceptable decrease in certainty regarding your continued existence." For the first time, John heard something beneath the logic, a faint, almost imperceptible tremor, not in her voice, but in the air around her. "You're scared," he said, the realization dawning. Fear is an inefficient emotional response to risk assessment. You're scared that if I leave, what I did becomes just a thing that happened, that it won't mean anything anymore, that you'll lose the meaning of it. She went very still. Her multifaceted eyes seemed to deepen, to pull in the light of the room. "You gave a part of your future to my child, a future I now hold.